weird? There's like, if I could have any superpower, I would love to have a superpower to like watch alternate reality movies. This is the Austin and Matt podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Austin.
This week we watched, instead of a movie, we watched the TV show Made for Love. But of course, before we get to that, Austin, what are you watching this week?
Yeah, so I didn't do like a whole lot of watching that I would normally do. However, I did go to the drive-in theater this weekend on Saturday. And what was really weird to me is that they had so Boss Baby 2. For Boss Baby 1, like I thought it was okay. It was fun. My kids were super obsessed with the series when it came out. So Boss Baby 2 I knew was a movie that we were going to watch. But they paired that up with A Quiet Place 2 right after that. So it was like, so it was like, all right, well, we'll watch a kids movie and then we'll watch an adult movie. Boss Baby 2, I would say that number 1 is better than number 2. Like they just did a sequel to kind of do like a sequel. However, I like the idea of what they had there. Have you seen anything about it? Do you care if I tell you anything about it?
Yeah, tell me whatever you want. I'm fine.
So pretty much the Boss Baby 2 takes place where Tim and his brother are now adults and in their adult lives. It comes out that Tim's daughter, well, his baby, is part of a family business. She's part of Baby Corp. And she has like this mission to like stop this school that's like ruining kids. But she has this like ulterior motive of like getting Tim and like the old Boss Baby back together because I guess like they haven't talked in like so many years. So it's like a reunion. And then it's like kind of like another Boss Baby sequel to it. So it's fun. There's a lot of fun jokes into it because Tim is a dad. There's like a lot of dad jokes that go on during it. I was laughing for it. The only thing that annoyed me with it, and this is no part to the movie, we were like 3/4 the way done with the movie, and this dude knocks on my window. And I was like, what? So I rolled in my window. He's like, hey, like we're right behind you guys, and like you guys have your car on. You guys are the only ones that have your car on. And like the exhaust is just like in our face. I get it. It's annoying. It's frustrating for him. I've been to almost countless drive-in movies, and we've always been in the front. We've always kept our car on because like our kids will just, they're obnoxious. They're loud. Usually they cry a lot of the time. We have the AC going because my son just sweats like a beast. So it's like we have like our own like controlled environment to watch our movie. And now it's like, can you turn off your car? They like roll down your windows, like you're the only car that's on. I get it if it's frustrating for somebody. Try to be considerate, acknowledge it. Like it never was an issue. However, being told that I wasn't being considerate, even though this is like how I've like watched the movies before, kind of takes me off a little bit. But I tried it out. Rolled down the windows. Immediately, my son wanted to like climb out of the window, and it's like freaking stopped. So I rolled the back windows, and we're like maybe like 15 minutes before the movie's over. My car just turns off because like we're in like the auxiliary, and then it's like all of a sudden just sounds like great. I think my battery just died.
Oh no!
So now I'm super peeved that it's like 1, it's getting hot in here. 2, I can't really hear the movie that well, and 3, I think my car is dead. However, after the movie ended, turned on my car, worked totally fine.
Okay.
And the people that were behind us for A Quiet Place 2. They left, so we just kept the car on for that entire time. So I enjoyed A Quiet Place 2 a lot, actually. I didn't know anything about this movie going into it, and in fact, when I saw a preview of A Quiet Place 2 for like a second, I saw like a really skinny person with a giant beard, and I was like, wait, is Jim still alive? There's no way. No, definitely not Jim. But Emmett, I forgot the actor who plays Emmett.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah. He's in very select movies, but I've never been upset with any of his performances.
Yeah.
From like 28 Days Later to Inception to even like the first Dark Knight movie, like he always brings like a good performance. Peaky Blinders is a show that he's in that I've been wanting to watch, so I'll probably end up watching that too. But
yeah, I've been wanting to watch Peaky Blinders for a while, and I've just never gotten around to it. I hear it's great though.
Yeah, but that actor, super solid. I like how in this role he's like a little bit more mysterious, like to himself, like a little scared. Overall, the movie, I would say, was a good sequel to it. There's some like writing issues that I have, like some concerns with, like the little brother who's like He's an idiot. Like, that's the only way I can put it. It's like, the first movie, we're going to make the youngest son die because he's an idiot. The second movie, we're going to almost kill the brother because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do we got to do this?
Yeah.
I liked it. My wife liked it. We're excited for part 3. I know that you mentioned there's going to be a new director for the movie. So that would be pretty cool.
I'm not sure that is true.
Yeah. So John Krasinski, whatever the heck, Jim.
Yeah.
He did choose a different director for the movie.
Oh, he did?
For the third one. Yeah.
We'll see, because he also claimed that he wasn't going to do the second one. But I could see him maybe, doing that.
Well, they have an expected release date of 2023, so I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's exciting.
But that's really like all I watched besides this show was those 2 movies, and they're both on Saturday night.
Yeah. Well, I didn't watch a ton either. One thing that I did do, which is one of the reasons I didn't watch as much, is I went to Chicago. So I live in Wisconsin. My big brother, who lives in Utah, where I just moved from 7 months ago or so, he was in Chicago doing stuff for his doctorate. He was looking at archives for research for his doctorate. And so he ended up going to Chicago, and he called me a few months ago and said, hey, I'm going to be in Chicago. You should come see me. Chicago's only like a 3-hour drive from here. Okay. So I woke up at like 6 in the morning, and I drove to Chicago, and I hung out with him for a little bit. Well, I hung out with him the whole time, but we hung out for a little bit. We went to, it's called the Shed Aquarium. It's this huge, kind of like the Living Planet Aquarium in Utah. It was basically that kind of thing. So we walked around and looked at a bunch of different fish and turtles and cool things that were swimming around. That was a ton of fun. And then we went to, it's the Willis Tower, formerly the Sears Tower. It's like the tallest skyscraper there. Holy cow, but just really, like, I never realized how big Chicago was as a city. Like, when I was driving in, I suddenly hit this point where I could see the cityscape. And it was like the entire horizon, as far as I could see, was just like skyscrapers going, up and down. And I was just like, that's unlike anything I've ever seen. And I was a little nervous to drive into Chicago, because I know Chicago can be a little bit of a scary place. Nothing scary happened. I didn't see anything scary. It wasn't that bad. Even honestly, like driving around Chicago, when it came to like how nerve-wracking driving is, I would rather drive around Chicago than Salt Lake City. I think Salt Lake City is a little more like nerve-wracking to me than Chicago was. To give an example of how pretty chill it was driving around that city. So yeah, that was fun. So the other thing that I watched was the new Rick and Morty episode. Okay. So the first episode of this season was last week. I didn't love it. There was this character, he was like kind of Aquaman type of character, like Lord of the Sea. And he was kind of annoying, and like the point of him was to be annoying, but it wasn't like funny for me. He was just genuinely very annoying. So I didn't love the first episode. This episode, on the other hand, kind of redeemed the whole this season again for me already, which I know there's only 2 episodes. But it was a really weird, silly, kind of fun throwaway episode, but it worked. I liked it quite a bit. So
nice.
But anyway, that's all I really watched.
Quick comment on Rick and Morty. I get a lot of hate for not watching Rick and Morty. Like,
I don't
way more than I would expect to get for not watching a show. And everyone's like, why haven't you watched it? Why haven't you watched it? And it's like, to be honest, like, I'm just not at this point where I want to watch Rick and Morty. Like, you guys can tell me about it. That's totally fine. You can obsess about it. Also totally fine. Wendy's can make an entire Wendy's Rick and Morty themed. Mm-hmm. And that's totally cool. Nah, I'm good for now.
So I feel like we talked about this. Isn't it Rick's burping that really gets to you, and Morty's kind of annoying voice? Is that what gets to you? Is that why you don't watch it? That's not it. It must have been something.
I started Rick and Morty. I watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and I thought it was pretty fun. I just never really had that ambition of like wanting to go back into it. One, I guess, kind of like the funniest part to me during that time was, I've seen like some clips, but like the True Level is a funny scene for me. Like, I like the show more in scenes than actually just watching it. And then the Freddy Cougar parody episode, that was pretty funny too. So like, I'm not saying it's not funny. I'm not saying it's not good. I imagine it's fantastic. I've actually watched movies on like the character story development that the creator follows to help tell a good story. because apparently it's really good storytelling. But it's just I've never watched the full content.
So here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what I'm
Cool.
going to say. So the first season, even, I actually didn't love. I had issues with the first season. So I'm going to argue that you go watch one episode, and if you don't love this one episode, then don't do it. Then fine, you don't have to watch it. But this is what I would say you give a try to.
So Matt, I just want to reiterate, I think it's great. It's nice. I just don't have any ambition to go watch the episodes.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, because you obviously don't want to watch the whole show. I'm just saying, like, if you watch this episode, which you don't have to, but if you watch this episode and you genuinely had no interest, it would be like, whatever. And I don't have hate for you. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to. But there's an episode called Total Recall. It's season 2, episode 4. It's my very favorite episode, and it's got some really, really hilarious stuff in it. So if you ever want to, like, really give Rick and Morty a try, I would say watch that episode and see if you're interested or not. That's what I would say. But anyway, onto this movie. Okay, Made for Love. The show opens with Hazel Green escaping from an isolated hub in the desert after her billionaire Elon Musk-type husband implants a chip in her brain without her consent. The chip can be used to monitor everything she sees, hears, etc., and is meant to eventually be used to merge consciousnesses with Hazel and her husband. She makes her way back to her hometown and discovers that her father, the town alcoholic, has also become the town pervert after purchasing a lifelike sex doll from the internet. Hazel navigates her attempts at normalization and divorce with her father while her husband watches through her eyes the whole time. Eventually, her husband, previously isolated in the hub for 10 plus years, ventures out to convince her to come home. The show ends with him offering to cure her father's cancer, and in return, she resumes her life of isolation with him. So, Austin, what'd you like about this show?
Yeah, man. I think it would do a great dishonor if I didn't mention like Diane's acting in the show. Just superb.
The fact that if she doesn't win an Emmy for her performance, I'll be
riots.
shocked.
Riots.
Yeah. Listen, for anybody listening, Diane is the name of the synthetic life partner of Hazel's dad, played by Ray Romano.
No, so I do want to start out with I'm gonna butcher his name, but Billy Magnuson. So I'm just curious, have you seen Maniac?
I have. Who was he in Maniac?
In Maniac,
I knew I recognized him.
Yeah, so in Maniac he was Jonah Hill's like brother, but he doubled in that show as he would see like his brother had like 2 brothers.
Yes.
So like one of them was like he couldn't see, like he was fake. He was like an imaginary friend, but he was really nice, very supportive to him. And then his actual brother was like a complete asshole and was pretty much trying to get everyone to think that he was insane, so that way he couldn't testify in court that he did the things that he did.
Mm-hmm.
So in that show, that was probably like my first exposure to him, and I was like, this dude is insane. Funny enough, he also does the voice of King Julian from Madagascar.
Okay.
I think it's in the original series that he does it, but I was just like, all right, this dude's got range. Not seeing anything before watching the show, the second I saw him, I was like, he's gonna be insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be the crazy husband, just out of his mind, disassociated with what's going on, and that was pretty spot on. And I think he does a great job of like playing somebody who seems competent but is like stupid at the same time, but like just oblivious to the area. And his dynamic with Bennett was probably one of my more favorite ones, because like Bennett's like, yeah, like let's do it, like I need to drink beer, yes, I'll help you, let's do this. So good. Just
They both obviously hate the beer when they taste it, and they're like,
exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So just Billy and Bennett, I thought they were a good dynamic, had a lot of fun things going on, and it was like, although yes, Billy's character was like going through like all this like heartbreak and things like that, like yeah, like Bennett was trying to do his best to get them all taken care of. And I love towards the end of it, or it's just what's his name, Herringbone was like, I mean, you hang out with Bennett all the time, like how many mistakes has he made? And he's in the bag and he's like 0.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
So good. I love their performances. I love what they did. I feel like they added a lot to the show, unlike some other characters that I'll talk about later. But I also enjoyed the ending. I mean, this is a very easy one. They could have just been like, no, like turn away the situation, and just live your life to live your life. And your dad made his decision, so just go on with and respect everybody's decisions. But it's like, no, like although she never cared about her dad, and her dad was kind of a piece of shit growing up to her, like during this time, like she does actually care about her dad, and she's also cared about her mom and kind of all that stuff. So I kind of like the deceptive ending that they had. Mostly there were some things that I would have liked did not see. In my mind, I think it would have been a great ending if she just said that she's going for a walk, and then she's just kind of walking away, and like she's getting closer to the camera, and then like in the corner you can see like the panel is like flickering, and it's like, oh shit, this dude's in the cube. Well, the hub, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then it's like boom, ends.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, like she did take it, and they kind of like leave a lot of stuff up to interpretation. I like when shows do that. However, I know not everybody likes when there's interpretation. They're like, I want that closure. I don't know if there's gonna be a season 2. I doubt there is, so that's probably why they went a little bit more into depth.
I think there might be. I think that's why it ended that way. Let's check. We're gonna look it up right now, real time.
It is gonna have a season 2.
It is.
Yeah.
See, and that's why I would be willing to bet if it was only gonna be one season, we would have gotten an ending a little bit more like you just said. But since we're gonna get a second season, I think that was kind of the right ending to go to. So
fair enough.
Kind of my thought. Anyway, was there anything else that you liked about this?
Those are kind of the main highlight pieces for me. Those actual performances, also the ending to it, made it feel pretty good. What about you? What did you enjoy?
Super happy to see Kristen Milioti again. I really, really like her as an actress. I've kind of been aware of her for a long time. She was in a movie many years ago called Ira and Abby. It had like Chris. Oh, I just forgot his name. He's one of my very favorite people. Chris Messina. He's like one of my very favorite actors. And he was in it, and Kristen Milioti was in that, and I thought, in full honesty, I mean, it came out when I was in high school, so I thought she was like super pretty, and I had a crush on her. And so I've kind of been aware of her for years, and then it wasn't really until she ended up on How I Met Your Mother and Black Mirror that she really like caught my attention again. And then she was in Palm Springs, which is probably my very favorite movie of last year, and so she's awesome. I loved seeing her in this. I think this was a good chance for her to really take the forefront in something bigger than she's done before. Like, she was the main character in that Black Mirror episode. That's just kind of one shorter episode of Black Mirror, you know? So like, It was just a TV episode, it was anthology. Palm Springs, she kind of co-pilots with Andy Samberg, and arguably probably takes a little bit more of a backseat to Andy Samberg. So to see her kind of really get to be like front and center in this show made me happy, and I think she did a great job. So I was perfectly happy with it. I also loved Ray Romano. I haven't really seen him do anything career-wise that I've been super excited about. I used to watch Everybody Loves Raymond on TV pretty regularly. Like, I thought it was a pretty funny show. So I really liked him in that. So to get to see him in something again where I was like, oh yeah, like he was in The Irishman, and it was kind of cool to see him doing something like The Irishman, like working with Martin Scorsese. That was cool. But getting to see him in this, kind of doing a little bit more of like a comedic role again, but playing something that's not kind of like I'm kind of a lazy family man character. I mean, I guess he was a lazy family man.
I was like, excuse me?
A lot worse than he was in Ray. Like, Ray, it was kind of like, oh, he's kind of lazy, haha. In this, it was like, oh, he's a piece of shit, haha. Like, it was different. So I like seeing him in this. I thought that was fun. But probably, like, the thing I enjoyed the most about it is the Black Mirror feeling of it all. Like, this easily could have been a Black Mirror episode, which is funny because Kristen Milioti has been in another Black Mirror episode. And so, like, to watch kind of like what felt like a longer episode of Black Mirror with her doing some interesting stuff. And it certainly was like a little more lighthearted than Black Mirror. Like, it had a little more fun than Black Mirror tends to have, I think. Black Mirror is really good, but it's very doom and gloom, and it's very like, oh, look how terrible the future is going to be for all of you. That's sad, huh? Like, this movie or this show was like, yeah, this is like a crazy, quirky, like feature thing, but like, hey, let's have fun with it and let's enjoy ourselves. So I thought that was cool. But overall, I liked it quite a bit. Like, I'm glad that we chose to do it for the podcast, even if it did require a little more time than like an hour and a half, 2-hour movie. Like, this was the first time since we started the podcast where I was like, I gotta keep watching. Like, I gotta find some time to watch this. Like, usually it's like one movie, Saturday night, I give it a watch, and then I'm good, you know? And this was more like, okay, the week started and I had to make sure I was watching episodes at every chance that I could get. So
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about what we liked about it. Austin, what did you dislike about it?
2 characters that I feel like we followed their story, but they didn't really add anything to the show or like really take anything away is Fiffany and Herringbone.
Yeah, they felt like they were dead weight, for sure.
Like,
although, okay, Herringbone at first, when he like got his fingers chopped off,
yeah,
I was totally like, this is funny, I get it, this is great. And then when it kind of morphed into like something else, I was kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, Herringbone, after trying to get Hazel, if he would have just ended up in the pasture cube, same impact on the show. From the beginning, like, he didn't do anything else. He was on there. Like, Fiffany, everything she did, she could have done by herself. But even then, I look back on it, like, she didn't do anything at all. So, like, this show could have been 2 episodes shorter if Fiffany and Herringbone weren't in it.
Yeah.
And I still would have got the same story. Maybe I would have got a little bit more Bennett. That'd have been great. Bennett's pretty funny.
Yeah.
He's stupid funny, but it's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, Fiffany and Herringbone, every time they were on, I was just kind of like, I'm wasting time.
Bennett's first part where he's interviewing Hazel about, I think he was interviewing her about her orgasm that morning, I think, something like that. And it's very awkward because you know that he knows exactly what it was like for her and exactly what they did. And then he says, okay, easy pussy. I mean, easy pussy. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's incredibly awkward and weird. It made me laugh pretty hard. I like that gag. But sorry, anyway, keep going.
Some of the things that also were like a little confusing to me here was, like, they introduced the one dude at the bar, and it seemed like, oh, okay, like, Hazel has an interest in this guy. And then it's like, she can smell the guy because he's making beer. And then there's that whole scene, and then nothing again. Like, he's gone from that point forward. And then the second dude, Jay.
Yeah.
It seems like they kind of have an interest. Like, maybe they're gonna like spark it up a little bit at the bar. They're having a good conversation, and then just nothing.
Yeah.
So, I think probably one of my complaints about the show is that they introduce characters, give them purpose, have them interact more with Hazel, and then it just dies, and it just really phases out. And like, if you're not gonna like tie that into something, then why? Granted, they still do have a second season.
Yeah.
So it could be things that maybe they just bleed into that. They have a little bit more purpose. Okay, cool. Maybe Jay and the first guy lead like a secret mission into the hub and like break her out. Who knows?
Yeah.
But right now it feels like they were just useless to what was going on. So.
Yeah, I thought I agree with that. And even to give the show a little more coherence, if the first guy had returned and been a stand-in for the second guy, instead of it being 2 different guys, like, that would have worked a lot more. It would have been like, oh, okay, like, he's come back, he's something, you know, but instead it was like, we'll just make 2 different dudes that she kind of has like a little something happen with and then they disappear. So I'm with you on that. I thought that was weird.
Yep. But really, that's like my only complaints. I feel like the things that involved Hazel, things that of Byron or Greg were good, and it fit. So I would still say it's worth it. What are things that you didn't quite like?
Well, kind of like you mentioned with Herringbone and Fiffany, like the fact that they could have been taken out from the show. Along those lines, like, this could have just been a 2-hour-long movie. And I guess since we're getting a second season, I'm like, okay, fine, I guess. But like, when I felt like this was going to be 1 season of something, I was just more like, yeah, it could have been a 2-hour-long movie. It just had a lot of stuff going on that just kind of felt like, I was very interested in Hazel's story. I was very interested in her dad's story. I was interested enough in what was going on with Byron. So for the Fifth stuff and just some other random little things. It was like, just cut all that out, trim it out, make this a 2-hour-long movie. I think it would be better that way. And I also did, you kind of mentioned that ending. I have issues with that ending. I think, I don't know. Like, I feel like since it is moving into a second season, I'm interested to see where it goes. But I guess I just felt like it was a little bit, I don't know. I guess now I'm saying this, and now that I know we're going to get a second season, I'm a little more okay with it. Mm-hmm. But I'm super interested where it's going to go, because the feeling that I was getting in the scene during the diner where her and him were talking about, like, if I were to return back to the hub, this is how things would be. This is how things would have to be different. There was part of me that was kind of like, you know what? Like, maybe Byron's not a super terrible person, and like this is genuinely a show about like them working this out to an extent, because when it all comes down to it, she was never honest with him about what she actually wanted. Like, for all the years that they were married in that hub, it seems to me that she never explicitly told him, I'm unhappy here and I want things to be different, and this is how I want things to be different. Like, although Byron's kind of a creep and he's weird and he definitely like was not okay in putting a chip in her brain, I kind of felt like it's not like she was doing anything to kind of get him to cut that kind of stuff out. And so I'm almost interested to see, like, is this show working towards like them having a healthy relationship and actually like caring for each other, because they finally opened that door to like really good, honest communication and being more than just like, I don't know, what they were. Do you see what I mean?
I acknowledge your points. I do disagree heavily.
Okay, that's fine.
So here's where I disagree at is, yes, you can say like Hazel didn't voice her opinion. However, when we saw in the flashback of the anniversary, whenever she did make requests of like things that she actually wanted, it was misunderstood. So like she wanted to go to the concert and she wanted to go outside and she wanted to do those things. And Byron was like, yes, let's totally do it. Totally cool. Yes. Ends up bringing the band to them instead of going out.
Yeah.
And
true.
It's kind of one of those things where it's like you ask your parents for something and they freak out about it. And it's like, cool, never doing that again.
Yeah.
And at what point it's just like, it's not going to change. I'm just going to leave and then never talk to them ever again.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree, as a whole in their relationship, not a whole lot of communication going on.
Yeah.
And the constant surveillance, like the obsessive compulsive nature of Mr. Gogol, not okay. But when you also know that people go to the pasture cube to disappear,
that was the one thing where I was like, okay, maybe he's way creepier than I thought. Like, that's his one really big unredeemable thing. A lot of his other stuff is like, okay, so he's weird, but it seems like he could work things out with Hazel. But yes, the pasture thing is kind of like, whoa, okay, what is exactly going on with those people? So that was one thing that I was like, okay, that's his big unredeemable thing, and she shouldn't be with them. But maybe I almost wonder if the pasture cube is not going to be like as bad as it seems. Like, because you don't know exactly what's going on in that pasture cube. I wonder if we're going to get a little more on like, hey, this is what this is kind of thing. I don't know.
If I want to make a theory of what I think the next season's going to be about.
What's the theory? Yeah, I want to hear.
I have a theory that the nun is going to do what she's good at and infiltrate the hub in some way. Find out what's going on. Find out about the pasture cube. And then kind of like expose that out. And I think by this time, Hazel and Byron will probably like have their marriage figured out a little bit more and actually care about each other a little bit more.
Oh.
And then it's going to be turned like this whole thing where it's like, no, like he's changed, he's done this, there's this, and it's like, yeah, but he's like killing people. And it's like, like how do I prevent this? And like it kind of like flips things around a little bit. If it's anything other than that, I'm not sure.
I was convinced that there was going to be a big twist. Like, I thought for quite a while, I actually thought, and maybe you got the same feeling and maybe you didn't, I actually thought Hazel might be a robot. Which would make sense why it was called Made for Love. It would make sense why she had this weird kind of thing about her dad having this synthetic partner, because like that's what she is. But then kind of thinking about it, I was like, she had this whole childhood that is obviously real because she went and found her dad, you know? So like that didn't seem like it was possible. I did think maybe it's possible that her going out into the quote unquote real world, she's just in another cube. She's still in the hub. And this is all part of this like program that he wrote to help her kind of like make her way back into the hub, kind of like I had ideas on what could be like a really big twist for something, but obviously none of that came to fruition, and I'm willing to bet that I'm wrong since the way this show ended and that there's going to be a second season and all that. So
yeah, good call. Yeah, good calls.
Worth watching. So yeah. But you weren't getting the same feeling. You weren't feeling there was going to be some big twist.
I felt like there was something that was going to go on, like I don't know if like he was going to turn into like he just shuts down the whole town and just like wipes it out, because he clearly showed that he has the power to do that.
Yes.
And there's not like a single form of law enforcement that you see in this entire show.
Oh, that's true.
Who knows? Maybe they'll save something big for season 2. Bigger question though, what do you want to watch next?
That's what I was just pulling up HBO Max to look at that. I don't know.
So a show that just
looking at HBO. What are you
out,
looking at?
Well, I was gonna say on Prime, Tomorrow War just barely came out with Chris Pratt.
So I'm actually literally in the middle of that right now. I started.
So am
I.
I'm 40 minutes in.
I'm like, well, let's see. Let me see how far I am. I think I'm a little bit further than you. See, that's a hard one too, because we'll watch it like
at the beginning of the week.
At the beginning of the week, yeah. Let's do it. Let's do the Tomorrow War, even though we're all just about done. Let's do it.
We can always like rewatch it too.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Yeah, I could. If I feel like on Saturday night, like I'm not gonna be able to talk about it that well, I'll give it another watch.
Dope.
Okay, let's do it. Tomorrow War.